Hello, brothers and sisters. I'm Pastor Mrs. Tolutemi Topeoluwa. God bless you, even as you listen to this short exhortation, according to His perfect will in Jesus' name. We're talking about sexual harassment in business today. The sexual harassment in business. According to the Citizens Advice Bureau in the United Kingdom, sexual harassment is defined as the unwanted behavior of a sexual nature which A. violates a person's dignity. 2. Intimidates, degrades, or humiliates a person. And 3. Creates a hostile or offensive environment for a person. Now, sexual harassment could be defined in slightly different ways, depending on which country you are in, which environment you find yourself, and it is also dealt with in varying degrees, again depending on where you are. Whatever the definition may be where you are, and however it's dealt with, it is important that you understand your stand as a child of God in that environment. It is important that you maintain that stand that is according to the will of your Heavenly Father. And if you have been in a working environment or been in business, you will understand that this is quite common, mostly subtle and sometimes quite severe, um, depending on the prevailing culture where you are. Now, you must understand that the Lord knew that we will face this type of challenges in the world. This is why He said to His disciples that He sent them as lamb in the midst of wolves. Yes, He was talking to His disciples here, but as many as are in the world and will deal with people who are of the world must be prepared to encounter some challenges. Matthew chapter 10 verse 16 is where the Lord said to His disciples that He has sent them as lamb in the midst of wolves. In that environment, as a burning and shining light for Christ, the enemy will want to spoil your testimony. You must understand, regardless of the vessel that he's using, how subtle, how aggressive it may be, that He is the one at work, and deal with it accordingly. Jesus advised those He was speaking to in the book of Matthew chapter 10 verse 16 that they should be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves. This is an advice that we will do well to take. This is a solution that the Lord preferred, even in whatever environment that we find ourselves. So He said, I have sent you as lamb in the midst of wolves, so be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. This means that vigilance is essential wherever you may be. You cannot afford not to be vigilant. A very sad example of sexual harassment that led to rape, which is the extreme of the case, barring, murder and things like that, is that of Tamar, the daughter of David, who was raped by her brother Amnon. You find this story in the book of 2 Samuel chapter 13 from verses 1 to 15. If Tamar had employed the advice given by Jesus as discussed previously, she may not have had such a sad occurrence in her life. This does not condone what Amnon, her brother, did. We're just saying vigilance is important in every interaction. And so for young entrepreneurs out there, young workers out there, perhaps it's your first job and this is your first time in a work environment. It is important to be vigilant. When Tamar went to her brother's house to make him some cakes, he told the men in the chamber to leave and to leave them alone. This should have raised some sort of concern in the heart of Tamar because it's quite unusual. In Israel, you usually have people around, maid servants, um, guards in the room. Why would he want to eat bread from his sister's hand alone? Nobody else there. But of course, we can't blame Tamar because this is her brother. At the same time, this is something that she may have avoided if she had been taught. Don't stay alone in a room with the opposite sex if you have any concern whatsoever. These are things that we need to teach even as children, grow to teenage level and they become adults. Discernment is particularly key. Being led by the Holy Spirit is key. The earlier we teach our children to do this, or the young adults as they start work, they should already know this. For those who don't know, it's never too late to teach them. Every interaction that a child of God engages in must be approached with vigilance. If you are led by the Holy Spirit into that interaction, great. You must still be vigilant to what He's saying per time, even as you move on in the situation. Now, sexual harassment can be from male to female and vice versa. We've just mentioned Amnon, who deceived his sister and forcefully slept with her. How about Potiphar's wife? She was going to force Joseph, to sleep with her. But Joseph was discerning. He left his robe and ran out. And so he was able to get away with and escape being forced into something he shouldn't have been involved in. In today's day and age, once a condition of a sexual nature is attached to your getting that contract, what do you do? If a condition of a sexual nature is attached to you getting that job, what do you say? When this is the case, you are already being harassed. Your lecturer should not have to sleep with you in order for you to pass the course. How do you handle such situations? As we've mentioned before, sexual harassment is dealt with varying degrees of severity depending on where you are. From those who feel that it's part of the terrain, perhaps because the culture is quite paternalistic, to those who seriously prosecute anyone found to be a sexual aggressor. Much more than what is available legally in your environment is the fact that you can take control of the situation as a child of God. The standard of God is the same. He doesn't want you involved in any sexual contact that is immoral. Any sexual contact out of the marital home is not according to the will of the living God. Yes, this may sound harsh, especially to people who are living in more sort of liberal societies of the world. But it doesn't change the truth of that situation. The truth is that God who created us does not want us to engage in any sexual contact outside the marital home, outside the marital bed. Now, what do you do if you are being sexually harassed? The first point of call for you is to take it to the Lord. He knows how to handle everybody effectively. Speak to Him about the situation. You must never succumb to this evil that robs people of their destiny by compromising your sexual purity. It is important that you understand that the first person you will report to is Jehovah, the King of Kings. Once you have spoken to Him, ask the Holy Spirit to help you discern how to deal with the situation. Some people have quite understandable reasons, in quotes, for compromising. Understandable reasons from the human perspective. But God's ways are not our ways. His ways are higher than our ways. So even though it's reasonable to the human ears, it doesn't mean that it's accepted by the living God. People will give reasons of starvation because if they don't grant this, they will starve because there's no money to buy anything. Their children will go through this. If you are in this situation, think about the widow of Zarephath, how the Lord met her needs. Don't be profane and say, well, that was in the Bible days. As many as believe, they will see the manifestation of God's power, even in their physical environment. How about the widow that was in debt? Provision made in the space of how many hours? The Lord is able to meet your needs if you stand resolutely for Him and with Him, no matter what you see. Some will say they want to avoid the shame involved. For example, if you are being asked for sexual connection with your lecturer, knowing that if you don't grant this, it will lead to you failing that important module or course. You may say to yourself, well, it's only for a few minutes. My brother, my sister, those few minutes could truncate a person's destiny. Refrain from compromising. The shame of eternal damnation, the pain and agony of it is much, much greater than anything you may experience here on the surface of the earth. No reason is tenable to compromise your stand in this area. As a matter of fact, the Lord sees these reasons, and as long as your obedience to Him is complete, He will discipline every disobedience. So we see in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 6. He will deliver you from the aggressor and his evil or her evil schemes. Joseph was sent to prison for maintaining God's standard. And so when you stand in this manner for the living God, it doesn't mean that there will not be challenges. He may decide there will not be any. He may also decide that there will be some to strengthen you, to train you, for your growth perhaps. He's perfect in his ways. He alone can decide what he will allow, when he will allow it, how it will be accomplished. And so, what you need to know is that as you stand for him, the end is always glorious. There is no shame in standing for him. Joseph was in prison quite all right. But when the Lord rewarded his faithfulness, he was elevated beyond even his wildest imaginations. We see as he was made the prime minister of Egypt in Genesis chapter 41 from verses 12 to 46. Yes, there is sexual harassment in business environments. Identify what they are. Any jokes that make you uncomfortable? Anything that humiliates in that manner or in that area is sexual harassment. Speak to the Lord. Commit your ways unto him. Be led by him. And you will dominate your environment such that you will be able to deal with whatever comes your way, even according to his perfect will. God bless you as you maintain your sexual purity, as you determine not to compromise because of money, because of power, because of connection, of what have you. It is well with you, according to the will of the living God, in Jesus' name. Keep taking territories for him. Keep moving higher.